Okay, let's move on to the final question. This one comes from Michael Brown. Hello, DF crew! Exclamation point. I was wondering if you think this absolute tomfoolery going on in the PC hardware market with GPU prices will drive some players to just buy a PS5 or PS5 Pro since they can't actually buy a GPU. Well, I've made my thoughts known about the state of the PC market, and it's pretty shocking at the moment. But John, what do you think about this?
I don't think it would drive that many players. There may be exceptions where somebody would say, I can't get this card, so I'll just get a console. But I feel like that's going to be relatively rare because most people trying to buy these expensive GPUs in this range, the ones that are sold out, I mean, they're probably already PC gamers, or they're far enough into this where like this is what they want to get. They'll just be annoyed, but I don't think they would just give up their PC ambitions and buy a PS5 either. Like it's still kind of a different market. And in fact, if anything, I mean, if they were to buy a PS5 at that point, I would think they would view it more as like an additional machine to have in addition to still trying to get this PC hardware. So there's plenty of us that have the consoles and PC. But I really don't see how it would change the minds of most consumers that are in that shopping bracket already, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oliver, what do you think?
Well, like John said, it takes a certain kind of consumer to be trading off decisions between consoles and PC. Personally, I do fall into that bucket, but a lot of players, they want to play a game on a desktop kind of environment, or they want to play a game in a living room environment, and they want more customizability, or they're playing games that are well suited to PC, like World of Tanks or something. I don't know. There are lots of different kinds of games that are more well suited to one platform or another, and they may not be trading off specifically on hardware power necessarily. But if you are, I think that a PS5 Pro isn't a great replacement for some of those GPUs, because performance with DLSS or performance with PSSR, ray tracing performance in a lot of titles, it's not the same as you'd be getting from a PC with like a 4070 class chip. One of these chips that might be quite expensive here. But the PC market is like really ridiculous at the moment for GPUs in that class of performance and price. Cards need to be available for MSRP, I think, for there to really be any question here. And at the prices the cards are available for right now, I can totally imagine someone looking at the relatively abundant stock of $700 PS5 Pros and saying, hey, that looks like a good decision to me to actually end up with a PS5 Pro instead of an ultra expensive GPU, which is probably going to cost more than the PS5 Pro itself, and end up with a console experience instead of a PC one. I can see that making sense. But at the moment with PS5 Pro software, again, it's not really equivalent to that PS5, rather that PC experience with that kind of class of $500 to $700 GPU, at least at MSRP. So it wouldn't really be a pure, there'd be more trade-offs involved, I think, here than just the price.
Yeah, well, I think it's fair to say that the market is in sort of crazy mode at the moment, and it's not healthy at all. With that said, though, I don't feel that a PC user is going to leave behind the PC ecosystem that, and all of the games that they built up to move onto a console. That just doesn't really make sense to me. Maybe if the next gen Xbox does run Steam, then there may be some arguments to be had there where people could bring over their games. I also think that there isn't really a problem with GPU availability. There's a problem with availability of new GPUs. I mean, the whole concept of being a PC user is that you can upgrade yourself, and therefore a lot of people are going to be selling their old GPUs, so you buy it on the used market. That's kind of the nature of the beast. And I'm looking now at used prices for like the 2080 Ti, which is still a reasonably capable GPU, and it's under £300. I was just actually looking at eBay for this, and I was kind of, this is off on a tangent. Somebody is selling modified 2080 Ti's with 22 gigabytes of VRAM over the 11 gigabytes of the original, which, they're charging a pretty penny for it. It's like £460 here, but I kind of want to see that, because pretty much the only disadvantage of buying a 2080 Ti as a cheap used buy is that 11 gigs is obviously better than 8. But it is still somewhat limiting for some of today's games. But, there are always going to be GPUs available. I guess the knock-on effect, though, is that if you've got an expensive new GPU, This raises the prices of the used market. It's just sort of common sense there. But the concept that somebody would move over to PlayStation from PC and leave behind their library of games, I think that's probably a bit too much to ask for. I don't really think it's going to happen. But an interesting conceit nonetheless, because there's certainly no shortage of getting hold of PlayStation 5s or even PS5 Pros at this point, or Xboxes for that matter. So, yeah, I just think it's the concept that you can't take your games with you. That's probably the major limiting factor. Even putting aside all of the advantages and differences that there are between the concept of PC and console gaming.